from the school of thought of theory of constraints, the Goldratt school, if you would have known. So, Goldratt has pioneered the theory of constraints way back in 1980s. It was written as a novel, but the theory that was published got so popular that today it is widely used by many organizations around the globe. Like if you participate in organizations like Amazon. If you join in the C-suite, this is one of the books you need to read before you join your job. So that's how powerful this theory is. It's a very simple 5-step theory that whatever is your goal, let's say for example, the core goal of my organization is to make money. So what is the constraint that is stopping me from achieving it? That's the first step, where I identify, zero down on what is my constraint. Second step is exploiting that constraint, trying to understand how we can, get better at it. Third is elevating it, trying to support those functions to ensure the constraint never remains a constraint. Step 4 is to repeat the process, to identify a new constraint that is then stopping me to make profit, and that's a process of ongoing improvement that we talk about. So using these principles, a lot of operations have improved globally in various segments, be it apparel. If I have to talk about retail, there are a host of examples that we have helped in retail. If you go into manufacturing, if you go into supply chain, everywhere the theory has been used and people have gotten many multiple results into it. Okay, now what we did here is our journey into India began way back in early 2000s, where Chroma back then had just disengaged themselves with Woolworth, and they have started on their own, and they had a very simple challenge: ki help us get the right product at the right place at the right time. Why? Because electronics they had a lot of dump of inventory, a lot of aged inventory that was lying around in the warehouse. They were at that point of time one of the first organized retailers in India. They had the challenge that we have around 50-60 locations, but we do not know how to distribute better and how to get a technology. That intelligence then, that consultation then we ended up building a product which is today called as Onebeat. So after Chroma, we worked with the Titan Group, we worked with Tanishq, we worked with the ABFRL, all brands possible, Allen Solly, Louis Philippe, to every brand that exists in the ABFRL portfolio, Max, Easy Buy, a host of brands. And today we have we have around 70 plus brands that run on Onebeat. Which again is like I said, a combination of the TOC principles with technology. Obviously with time the technology has evolved a lot. Today we even talk about, like for a brand like Forever New who works in Australia, we even give them image recognition allocation capabilities. So we have evolved with respect to the need of every environment when it comes to merchandising, allocation, replenishment, and your execution. Okay, so that has been our journey in India in retail. Apart from the Indian ecosystem, we have around 170 more brands which come from Latin America, Europe, Japan, spread across. We have brands like Bosch, Panasonic, that operates on Onebeat on some or the other customization that are more suited for their environment. So we are industry agnostic. Except food, we are into every industry. Even food, we just started a very big project with Spencer's in Kolkata, so we'll soon have more use cases in that segment as well. But apart from that, we are well versed in almost every possible industry. Now, what is the agenda of today's roundtable? The agenda is very simple as to how do we identify means to derive profitability using technology in the space of merchandising or inventory management. Okay, now why is this a very important segment as per from our standards or from our perspective? Is often when it comes to inventory management or optimization, a lot of core focus always relies on forecasting, that if I get my forecasting better, my entire execution is better. But we have data that tells that that's not the case, because even if you read TOC always says that forecasting is like a crystal ball where you're 50% right, 50% wrong. There's no way you can get it right, or there's no logic to why did you get it right. So how do we negate that dependency on forecasting. How can we come closer, learning the signals from the existing business to understand or ensure that we go in the right direction? So that's the entire focus of how can we derive that profitability. Okay. So before I begin, the first question I would love to have an engagement of an answer from all of you is, in when it comes to retail, there are two phases, okay, that every retailer wants to, and I'm sure everybody will say I would love to be both. But it's a matter of fact, we are one. Okay, either my focus is towards growth, where I'm targeting usually expansion, where I want more stores to be opened up, I want more revenue to be generated from the stores, I want more sales happening from, let's say, various channels. It can be e-com, omni channel, whatever you term about. And the second segment that everybody today, the last 4 years, I would say people are talking very least about it, is stability. What am I taking home at the end of the day? Am I making enough money? Am I showing enough profit after tax, after my taxations? Or because it so happens that when I'm in an expansion phase, my revenues definitely look better. Okay, and there is a phase where whatever excess inventory I had, it would look better. But then when the focus is stability, the lens of my entire perspective changes. Okay, so I want to begin with this question. What do you think, like, in terms of retail, where are you at and what is your take on to it?
See, first of all, I will introduce myself. I'm Ritesh. I represent the organization for Citykart Retail, and I'm the CEO there. We have 154 stores right now, right? And majorly we are in the other parts. So for us, it's both. I mean, loud enough for
Yeah,
me, right? So for us, it's both actually. And one thing is growth is there. So growth has to be one of the priorities,
correct,
right? Because again, it's the economic demography what we have been seeing. So we cannot stop growth and we cannot look away from it.
correct.
Stability as regards, I think stability is like a very, very dichotomous term, if I would say. In a retail business, I don't think stability is any day there, right? Every day is a new day for us, right? And we are expanding our stores. Are we getting the maximum out of it or not? So that is the third dimension which I would like to put in.
Anyone would love to add?
I would like to add here. I'm Shifali from Lacoste, India. So I would like to add the core. So for us, growth has to be purposeful. We just don't want to expand, or we just don't want to look forward to growing, for the heck of adding numbers or adding number of channels into our belt. We don't want that. So for us, it's important that each and every presence that we have should make sense to us from brand viewpoint, from sales and from profit viewpoint. So what we do is that we do our market research, we try to figure out the customer base, we use our online, data online presence of the customers, and then we try to figure out the location which suits us the best, in terms of that we should be able to connect better with the local audience. Because when we talk about growth, when a new pause opens in the beginning, there is a possibility it starts growing. But it's very important to see the longevity there. The long-term stability has to be there, and it's important to see other parameters which I just mentioned, to connect with the customer, to understand the market, and then to go for it, rather than just building in numbers. I think that's important to go both the things together.
I think, yeah. Myself, Vineet, I am with the V-Mart right now. I am CEO over there. So the word called stable growth, we love it, but it's like it's not the fact what we are saying. It's like riding a car. Sometimes you have to do more acceleration. Sometimes to apply the brake, right? So that's the balance we have to do, and both are required, right? I think inception when the growth is important, after some time stable, again further growth. But when I'm looking at a period as a 1 decade or half a decade, I think the phase is like some year the growth is like we have to compromise, we have to do the trade-off with the stability. But
eventually,
illustrate what you're saying.
Yes. So I am Ram. I am supply chain head at V-Bazaar. We have like 126 stores spread across this part of India. And what I see is like growth and stability has a different perspective to different companies in phases. Like if the overall market is growing and you are not growing, you are leaving behind. If overall market is stable and you just have to cut short a market share from the other company, that is where you need to decide which strategy to apply. If we currently see value retail, right, it's in the growth phase and you start focusing on stability, maybe you will not get the correct market share what you are looking for. So these two are kind of things which goes together, but based on the company's kind of a maturity level, you need to apply. Like for us, if growth is a very important thing, if you don't grow, some other retailer will capture your market share, and if you are not stable, your growth is nowhere. It is not sustainable. So if both is happening together, the sustainability happens. Otherwise, it becomes a myth. I am growing and stability.
So I would like to add a point here. So I'm Arun, and then I represent Nicobar Design Private Limited, which is a growing D2C brand. So we promote Indian living, we get content ready. So we are actually at a growth stage. But having said that, stability is equally important. But so what I mean stability is, let's say, whenever you are a growing brand, so there will be things, there will be processes which you will have to pivot around at different stages. So growing stage, there will be like on and off, because it's a retail brand and then you cannot be stable at any point of given of time. But having said that, yeah, once you close this era, so exponential growth comes, right? And for a brand like us, we have been growing almost 35-36%, and the retail growth is also, LFL growth is also almost 23%. But yes, there will be a time when stability gets more important than the growth stage. So it actually goes parallel. Yeah.
Great. So there is anyone want to add?
Just I am Rahul from Latin Quarters. Just I also feel it depends on where you are in the life cycle of an organization.
Correct.
Ideally, also depends on how confident you are on your own business. I think if you are really confident, with the growth, stability will eventually come. We have seen instances where people have really grown, and due to lack of stability, they are unheard of right now. And we have heard of brands which have been very stable, but like the gentleman was mentioning, that somebody else took their pie of the business, and people don't hear of them now. So ideally, you would want to mix, but I think each to their own. There is no right or wrong. Some people prefer to be aggressively growing, some people prefer to be stable. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that.
Correct. So I'll tell you why we introduced with this slide. There's definitely no right answer to how we want to stabilize, but it has to go with that if I am looking at growth, is the entire supply chain, entire thought process of the organization towards the same channel. If I am looking towards stability, are my actions aligned? And that is where basically technology comes into picture. The thing is, Dr. Ali Goldart used to always say that you have to only introduce technology when you are eliminating a significant constraint from your ecosystem. Else, too much of data is only noise. You do not know that you get data, you get insights from every meeting that you sit through, let's say an AI bot, or for that matter, tons of BI tools. But what am I going to do with that data? How am I going to make it actionable, actionable? Is where technology should come and help. And that's where we have, over these years of experience, drawn probably a chart or an experience tool that allows us to do it. Now how, before I get there, let's first understand what are the challenges in retail. Okay, there are three major perspectives in retail, and I'm sure all of you who are experienced enough, you are well aware of these challenges. Number one is, with time, consumer personalization is increasing. There was a time when we would go to a shop to buy a loaf of bread, and it would be only white bread or probably milk bread. Aaj multigrain hai, brown hai, whole wheat hai. Every person wants their own say in buying what they want to buy. Okay, there is immense personalization. Now, what happens when personalization increases? As a retailer, my challenge is I have to hold more inventory to sell the same SKU to someone. वो खरीदेगा एक ही product, but पहले एक product खरीदने के लिए I had to give him 2 options. Now I have to give him at least 4 to 6. So that increases my strain on the way I'm looking at the store. Second is tolerance time. Today even the malls are designed where आपका competitor आपके बगल में ही हो. So it is very well evident that if you are entering a store and not finding the product of yours, choice, the person can buy it from the store next to you or can probably buy online or whatever. But the person does not want to wait. Today there is a reason why in a country like India, you can see Swiggy, Instamart, Zepto doing so well because people do not want to wait. They want things right here, right now. And third is life cycle. The trends change with a snap of a finger. Today something was trending, there are colors that trend, there are patterns that trend. It can be a celebrity who's worn a particular pattern that has suddenly trended. It has been a Instagram influencer who has said something. So everywhere there is enough challenge to the ecosystem. Now because of that, the entire of us in retail is inventory. Because if you have to look at life cycle, if I have to talk about let's say electronics, कोई नया मॉडल आ रहा है तो बाकी मॉडल्स क्या करे, बंद करे, चालू रखे, क्या करे. लाइक फॉर इफ यू आस्क दिस टू एन एप्पल रिटेलर, ही विल से keep the old models because they become cheaper and people buy more of it. Okay, you'll even hear the same for Samsung, but you'll not hear the same for a OnePlus guy. He'll say I want the new model, purana nobody will buy. So every brand, every position that you belong to, you will have a different challenge. Now ये सब में एक question आता है. Okay, question is how much is too much? If I am giving my personalization to my client, how much personalization is enough? Where do I stop? How do I draw the line? And this is exactly where it starts blocking as we expand, as the number goes to 70 stores, 100 stores. As you grow, as the number grows of an organization, this becomes a choking point. Why? Because you will have mixed signals coming from everyone. Somebody will come and say कि नहीं कुछ भी हो जाए, we have to give maximum options. Like for example, when it comes to fashion, there's a very common set of freshness चाहिए. Okay, now freshness चाहिए. There are brands like Forever New जो हर हफ्ते, every 2 weeks they introduce like 40-50 styles. Now that is their way, because that is the Zara model कि आप बस freshness introduce करते रहो. Now that is their model. Now if a brand thinks about looking at or allocating them to that model, then मेरा फोकस सिर्फ एक होना चाहिए कि मैं फ्रेशनेस ज़्यादा लाऊं, बाकी चीज़ें शुड बी अलाइन टू इट. द चैलेंज इज अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स वी स्टार्ट डूइंग एवरीथिंग टुगेदर कि मुझे फ्रेशनेस भी बहुत ज़्यादा चाहिए, मुझे टॉलरेंस भी. अभी थिंक अबाउट इट, व्हाट इज कंज्यूमर पर्सनलाइजेशन? इट इज़ अबाउट एडिंग मोर फ्रेशनेस, कि आप नई नई चीज़ें ऐड करते रहो, कस्टमाइज करके आप अपना विथ बढ़ा रहे हो बेसिकली इन रिटेल लैंग्वेज. अगर मैंने विथ बढ़ाया और साथ में मैंने टॉलरेंस टाइम के लिए उसकी डेप्थ भी बढ़ा दी, माई इन्वेंट्री होल्डिंग इन अ स्टोर विल ऑटोमेटिकली इंक्रीज. उसी के साथ मैंने लाइफ साइकिल पे भी फोकस करना शुरू कर दिया. सो आई कैन नॉट फोकस ऑन ऑल 3 थिंग्स एट द सेम टाइम. एंड दिस इज द बिगेस्ट डिसीजन मेकर दैट वी फील अ रिटेलर शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ, कि व्हाट इज माई फोकस. Is my focus personalization? Is my focus availability? Or is my focus freshness? Because तीनों के action points अलग है. Now when I say focus, whatever will be your choice will be the main drum, और बाकी जो दो है वो रोप के साथ आपके साथ follow करते रहेंगे. Then you're only assessing your decision making to what your focus is. Let me give you some more examples with respect to this. Let's say fast fashion as a concept. जब फास्ट फैशन मार्केट में आया था, द इंटेंट वॉज दैट वी इंट्रोड्यूस डिजाइंस दैट लीव द सिस्टम विद इन 12 वीक्स. 12 वीक्स भी ज़्यादा बोल दिया, 8 वीक्स वॉज यूजुअली द नॉर्म, कि हमने डिज़ाइन इंट्रोड्यूस किया, 8 हफ्ते में वो बिक जाना चाहिए. नाउ लेट्स अज्यूम मैंने वी गॉट इनटू दैट कि विद इन 8 वीक्स, दैट्स अ लाइफ साइकिल डिसीजन, दैट माई प्रोडक्ट विल नॉट बी देयर इन माई स्टोर विद इन 8 वीक्स. नाउ if I am aligning to this strategy, what is my follow-up strategy? मेरा buy वैसे बढ़ जाएगा. I'll have more options that I have bought because हर 8 हफ्ते में मैं newness store में consistently inbound कर रहा हूँ. Now what happens when जो मैंने 8 हफ्ते 16 हफ्ते, let's look at 2 drops, 2 drop मैंने किया और उसका sell through match नहीं हुआ. What is the immediate challenge? Exactly, I'm stuck with a lot of tied up inventory. मेरे पास जगह नहीं है, स्पेस नहीं है. What am I going to do again? Okay, because I am doing everything with respect to my logic, my focus. Now, usi ke saath, I have to understand that if my focus is my life cycle, my depth has to be low. I cannot operate on a very high depth. Now, at the same time, wherever the category is not doing well, I have to take a decision immediately within 8 to 10 weeks कि उस स्टोर में for that particular store ये category को मुझे assortment में कम करना चाहिए because इधर उतने options की जरूरत ही नहीं. This alignment is what I'm talking about. That my primary focus can be that, but then the other two have to follow it in to ensure that my retail has more agility. Like I asked everybody about the same question, that how was Diwali? Okay, कि Diwali कैसा था? Now post Diwali, one of the most prime actions we are working with shoppers and Marks and Spencer was कि अब दिवाली के टाइम पे माल भर गया स्टोर में because they were anticipating a particular sale नहीं हुआ है. उस हिसाब से जिस हिसाब से estimate किया था, what do I do of the existing inventory? We recommend everybody that you don't have to wait to consolidate or rebalance to ensure that the store is back to where it was. Even if it is, these are actions of pullback or rebalancing inventory among stores, it is a signal that you need to take, that you need to be aligned to. And this is how we look at it. So what is my agenda of showing you this is, these are the three common challenges your buyers, planners, everybody are fighting with. What Onebeat or what TOC methodology says, focus on one thing that you want to do for your brand that represents your brand and let the other two support it. If your focus is availability, always ensure availability and let freshness and life cycle be a product of that availability. It all depends on, जैसे we have a mix here, like Lacoste ma'am represents a very premium brand, but if I have to talk about V-Mart, you are into more of value fashion, same is with V-Bazaar. Now for value fashion, same is with Citykart. Value fashion mein I cannot do the same rules that I do for a premium brand. In a premium brand I need depth, but if I go to a value retailer I need more assortments because वहाँ पे there is so much quick churning of inventory कि एक value, एक price point और attributes keep changing. कभी price point की वजह से sale बहुत बढ़ गया है, कभी कोई attribute की वजह से sale बहुत बढ़ गया है, कभी किसी category में specifically sale बढ़ गया है. So how do you manage that? And that is exactly what Onebeat tries to solve. Now we have a very common nomenclature using which we solve. We call it a dinosaur model, which says that if you look at the number of sales and the SKUs that you have to offer, okay, we call it a head, belly and tail model. Head are basically your best products, the products that contribute most to the sale, which are usually, if you see, top आपके 20% ऐसे SKUs होंगे that will give you more than 60%. The classic Pareto. It's a Pareto example कि जो आपके top 20% SKUs है वो आपको सबसे ज़्यादा sale देते हैं. Hence you should always protect the head because that is your sale driver. Second is your belly, which is your freshness that you constantly keep introducing. Okay, कि आपका newness है जो आप धीरे धीरे introduce करते रहते हो to expand your assortment, which contribute to the next 20% of it. And then this is the bottom. How do we look at a head, belly, tail from a brand perspective? Should we only look at it globally or should we look at it locally as well?
Globally, customer,
anything, as in whatever, regionally, local can be anything local.
As deep as possible, I would say.
As deep as possible?
Actually both.
Both?
yeah. So from my perspective, customer satisfaction is the most important thing. And when you go to the customer satisfaction, regional biases are very much. I mean, in India, especially, it's like every 200 kilometers things are changing.
Correct.
So if you are not local, say like somewhere the weather is changing, somewhere the influence of a Western culture or Indian culture is happening. So even state, districts, everything is changing. So keeping it local is very much important if you wanted to go ahead with the customer satisfaction.
Correct.
I'll add a perspective here. Since Lacoste is a French brand and it's a global brand, so how it works with us, we can't just change and launch our own local range. So how we do is, it's important for us to consider brand positioning, brand perspective, because customer these days travels a lot. They have an exposure to online also, so we can't just change the brand DNA. So we keep the brand DNA as is, and then what we do when and where, for example, we were talking about Diwali. We, of course, we curate the range, whatever suits us the best based on the analysis. We prepare that range and for our customers. Just to add more to it about how do we connect with the local audience, because it's very important. Last Diwali, we had launched a kurta pajama. Okay, with a golden drop,
I saw that. It was very interesting. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody was expecting Lacoste to do, such a range, and it was globally approved, and it did wonderfully well.
It was knitted.
Knitted kurta, exactly,
right,
which is very less available in the market, with a golden drop, and we talked about festivities and everything. So it did really well for us.
I think that was very brave also.
That was very, I agree with you. That was
Lacoste
very
to do
brave
that,
for
yeah.
us to do it, because it was an opportunity which we were trying to connect with the customer. It did well. So because of that, now this year in Diwali, we did a sleeveless jacket. I will not call it a specific jacket with a mandarin collar, a sleeveless jacket, which is very famous in India, with a green croc in multiple colors. Again, the same, we tried to again connect with the customer, and it did amazingly well. In just 2 weeks, we got a sell-through of 38%. Which is again very well. So we are trying to, bridge the basically gap between the global and the local connections, and I think this is what a international brand needs to do.
Okay. So, any more opinions?
I think the management at the global level is very easy, and all the brands are doing it.
Okay.
And it's more complex when it is coming at the local level.
Absolutely.
It's not easy. Everybody want to do, but maybe.
Correct.
Just one more point, just to what lady was saying. Even for us, we're a Western brand and we do these overcoats in winter. And what we realized was that in a lot of UP and Bihar, a lot of people were wearing ethnic clothes, but they were wearing our overcoats on top. So they were not really our consumers, but during that period, they became our consumers. So after we found that out, what we actually had to do was go to every girl in the office, tell them to get your ethnic clothes excuse me, to office, and actually start matching our overcoats to the color palette of what they wear for suits and sarees. So this is something which we discovered by accident, and first we were laughing about it, that what is this combination, but it actually helped us increase sales. So similar to these kind of small details that you get, if you go as bottom up as possible, definitely will help in the overall scheme of things.
Absolutely. Correct. So we agree, we are in alignment here. Now, why am I specifying about head, belly and tail is because, like you said, like Vineet rightly mentioned, most organizations look at it or map it at a global level. But when it comes to mapping it one level below, they'll probably stop it at a regional level. We believe in going even a level below that, go to a store level, because for every store there is a unique head, belly and tail. Now when I say head, belly and tail, there are two ways of it. Now let's say if I look at Lacoste as a brand, the number of SKUs in a Lacoste store compared to all the others will be a few. Now on that, when I look at that mix, a premium mix, I would say look at the head, belly, tail at an SKU level. Why? Because that is something that gives me more power to be more flexible. But if I go to value formats where there are n number of assortments, the head, belly, tail should not only be looked at SKU level, it should be looked at assortment level. That what is the assortment performance? What is my assortment attribute performance? Because that's where it starts making more sense for you. Okay, because when you are introducing SKUs within a particular category, you can even make it at a price range, whether with respect to what works in your environment. Data will give you that answer. That is it the price point that people are looking for? Is it the quality attribute that people are looking for? Like you said rightly, overcoat, it's an attribute people were looking for. Okay, so that responsiveness, okay, has to be aligned to what my SKU combination is. Okay, so that's how we look at it. So when we say head, belly, tail, look at it globally and look at it locally. Now I have some numbers for you. Okay, these are numbers from a global perspective. These are not numbers from an Indian market. Around 170 brands that we have globally. Unka mix kya tha? Now I've there is accessories, home, DIY, fashion apparel, footwear, pharmacies, every segment. Okay. We see what is the percentage of local tail versus what is the percentage of global tail. Okay. Global tail is a product that has not worked globally. You introduce a product wo kahin nahi chala. Usually if you look, it is never, worst case scenarios, more than 7 to 8%. Generally वो number बहुत छोटा होता है. Because you estimated, like you mentioned ma'am, वो kurta that you introduced could have worked, it could have not worked. It was a decision that you took. Correct? There was no historical number or a thought to it. It was just an experiment that you tried to do, which gave you the result. So ऐसे 10% is the max. We look at a good number is around 6 to 7%. कि 6 to 7% globally चीजें fail होती. Most of the times it is locally that a product is being accumulated. Okay, and it has not been moved or no action has been taken. Now why does this happen? If I look at, let's say, value brands, आप हर हफ्ते allocate करते हो, कुछ ना कुछ पढ़ाई है जो store में जा रहा है. Now when it is going, a lot of times the team loses the focus of that average. Good afternoon, sir. So the team loses focus of that average SKU that was underperforming but is still lying in the store. And that is exactly the challenge we want to highlight. And this is the lost sales that we go through because of inventory mismatch, where the product is doing good. I'm sure all of you believe one store's slow mover is another store's best seller. Okay, but if the inventory is not in the right place at the right time, you have a high chance of missing out on that sale. Why do you think people came up with omni-channel or an e-commerce as a solution? Because they knew कि इतना जब मेरा spread होगा, it will happen that a lot of my styles will not be available everywhere. So to capitalize it, we created a omni-channel view that so that even if the person is coming, he's coming for a particular category, वो कहीं से भी वो purchase कर लेगा और 2 दिन में पहुंच जाएगा. These are all ways to capitalize how we can minimize it. But in reality, the value is using, mismatching that inventory. I'll give you some real life examples. So you remember, so we do A6 and Birkenstock for 20 stores for a franchisee partner. Okay, just 20 stores. Now both are premium brands. Okay, A6 had a sale. If you would look at, I think 2 महीने पहले एक sale था, which was their flat 50% sale था. Just using inventory mismatches, okay, they moved around inventory worth around 2.7 crores, out of which 1.6 crores got sold in 30 days, and in that 30 days, out of that 1.6 crores, 95 lakhs was sold at full price. The reason is very simple. We had historical data that talks that SKU was a high performer there. But because of the necessary action, कि मेरे पास एक नया SKU आ गया है, push कर लो. But जो existing product है, जो चल रहा है अच्छा, because like I said, वो local level पे, store level पे lens नहीं है, और possible भी नहीं. Like for example, if I have to talk about Citykart or V-Bazaar or V-Mart, you have at least 50,000 SKUs in probably a store, multiplied by 100 plus stores that you have. कौन देखेगा उतने level पे? There's no way you can. You need technology to help you, get an answer there. Minimize that, profitability gap there, and that is exactly what a solution like Onebeat tries to address. Okay, what we try to do is we try to understand. We don't try to help you forecast better. We do something in planning as well. I'll discuss that later on. But our actual focus is to ensure that your supply and demand have a resonance to each other. Okay, have a resonance to ensure that you reduce something that is under your control. Forecasting is something, no matter what you do, it is not under your control. You have either taken a decision or you have not taken a decision. But executing what you already have is a decision you can still take and capitalize on it. I'll give you some more numbers in case you feel, because when 1.5 years ago, when we introduced store transfer, everybody was aware of it, but an algorithm that we had, most of our clients were cryptic about it. कि पता नहीं, एक बार करके देखते हैं. There are brands who have sold up to 5 to 6 crores more in a year just using interstore transfers. I'm talking about footwear, I'm talking about apparel, I'm talking about many other clients that we have just using interstore transfers. There was a women's wear brand that did 49 interstore transfers within a year consistently and accumulated 5 crores additional sales, 5.2 crores to be precise, out of which 64% were sold at full price. So what I'm trying, and this is with a very simple logic that any product that has worked for 30 days in a store, has spent 30 days in a store without a sale but is a best seller somewhere, transfer with, like I said, with certain, logics, okay? So we can define, we can be creative, but the reason I'm trying to share here is that we are talking about deriving profit from the inventory that you already have. I'm not talking about the inventory that you did not purchase. I'm talking about the inventory जो आपने already खरीदा है, उसमें से हम और better कैसे कर सकते हैं? That's the automation we are talking about. Now, for this, we talk about two very simple thought processes. Okay, one is efficiency, and the other is effectivity. Okay, now सुनने में दोनों बहुत similar लगता है, so we have a very small differences. Efficiency is doing the things right, and effectivity is doing the right things. Now, what does this mean? Okay, so let's talk about life cycle. Okay, if I have a life cycle thought process कि I want my product to कि 8 हफ्ते में decision आ जाना चाहिए कि product चला है, hit है या miss है. If I have that thought process, what does effectivity have to do in the place and what does efficiency have to do in the place? Effectivity is taking a decision within that 8 week. You have a system that takes a decision immediately that 8 हफ्तों में अगर ये प्रोडक्ट ने परफॉर्म नहीं किया, आइदर मैं पुल बैक करूंगा वेयरहाउस को या मैं स्टोर ट्रांसफर करके उस स्टोर में दे दूंगा जहां पे ये सेल है, बट आई टेक सम एक्शन और आई ब्लैकलिस्ट दिस प्रोडक्ट फ्रॉम दिस स्टोर, आई टेक दैट एक्शन. Efficiency is how much, what is my alignment to that action. मैंने सिस्टम से डिसीजन तो ले लिया, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल गिविंग यू आई जस्ट गिव यू एग्जांपल ऑफ दैट इंटरस्टोर ट्रांसफर जिन्होंने इतना वैल्यू क्रिएट किया. A6 का वो स्टोर ट्रांसफर का जो नंबर था, व्हाट वाज द कंप्लायंस? 67%. So I am doing the right thing, but I am not doing the things right. And this happens a lot in retail. Okay, like for example, the management will say, okay, start replenishing every day. Giving you just an example. Now, आप बोल रहे हो, you are having a system that gives you that output, but are you complying to it? What is your percentage of compliance to it? How many times has that happened? If you have taken a decision कि ये मुझे pull back करना है, has that pull back happened? Or are you relying on the mercy, of the store manager who will tell कि मैंने इतना ही किया है, उतना ही किया. So why we stress a lot on effectiveness of the merchandise and efficiency of the merchandise, because these are the decisions जहाँ पे pure play होता है. Let me give some more examples. Okay, let's look at assortments. So we have many clients जहाँ पे we have broken their assortments into attributes. Okay, let's say for example, I'll give the most simple example, men's shirts. अब shirts में there are solids, there are prints, there are stripes, there are checks. 4-5 usually options होते हैं जो shirt में दिखते हैं. इसमें short sleeve, long sleeve होता है. Okay, now for a value brand, we broke this further down to even a price band, which genuinely helped them a lot during the GST price correction that happened. Okay, why? Because we said that basis your store, because the stores are at different catchments, every store has a unique assortment. Okay, कि 1000 से 1500 के बीच में, okay, short sleeves इस store का attribute ज़्यादा बिकता है, तो basis that selling of that attribute, we started giving the response. Now, when that level of clarity was given to the client, okay, automatically his efficiency in doing those things automatically improved. His categorization. Now, what is the benefit in that? The benefit is next time जब आपकी buying team buy करती है, you can buy less for that store. Because what you are doing is you are looking at the real-time signals and taking it to planning again on a day-to-day basis. Okay, you can review it quarterly, like jewelry वगैरह में तो हम 6 महीने में एक बार review करते हैं. But if it comes to smaller segments, we review every quarterly or even within 45 days, because you need enough time to ensure that whatever data you're receiving is also of good value. What is relevant to your environment? Now imagine कि आपका store merchandise mix is changing. Like for example, if I walk into a Lacoste store, I know इतना मेरा shirts होगा, इतना मेरा ये होगा. What if उसमें we can add more options or reduce more options basis the store location? कि I know कि इस location में इतने options जब मैं दिखाता हूँ या दिखाती हूँ, I have a better opportunity to sell more. And that is the level of expertise we're talking about. Okay, so when we do now, let's say ये मैंने define किया, I am doing it effectively, but if I'm not maintaining that decision making, then automatically, no matter how good my decision making is or what good technology I have in the ecosystem, it is not going to add value. So we stress a lot of importance that it's not only about, like I said, it's not only about getting technology to the ecosystem, it is about aligning your actions to that technology as well. Okay, that you have, because अगर हर जगह caveats होंगे, so 6 महीने बाद results will still be the same. You will still have that number of age stock. We have a very live example in jewelry. So Thangamahal करके, it's a listed jeweler down in Madurai. When they started working with us, they used to operate 28 stores with 1,000 kgs of gold. Today, they still operate with 1,000 kgs, but they have 60 stores. Now, for them, if you go and look at their share price in the last probably 4 years, it has gone 10 times up. Reason is very simple. They stick to it. They are compliant. Now it's a fairly owner-driven organization, so control is extremely high. Yeah, influence is extremely high. But that is the outcome of that influence. That they stuck to an effectiveness. They did it efficiently. They have their own, for interstore transfers, they have their own vehicles across, which runs across Madurai or Tamil Nadu, that does the interstore transfers themselves. And because it is jewelry, it makes even more sense for them because they are high value products. So the reason I'm stressing so much on merchandise management, on efficiency and effectiveness, is I'm sure within your organization as well, you have a lot of things that you are doing right. But probably is the efficiency of it, up to the mark. Now, इसमें कई सारी चीजें आती हैं. Like for example, manual errors, human errors, okay, data inaccuracies, which definitely compromise the efficiency. But that's where you need to have a system. That's where we talk about having a system like Onebeat that ensures that whatever effective decisions you have taken are met with maximum efficiency. Okay, coming to what we do today when it comes to Onebeat, we also do planning, but I'm not covering it specifically here. We try to go up and above from the time the goods hit your warehouse. आपके पास जैसे warehouse में merchandise आ गया, we help you allocate, we help you replenish, we help you do a rebalancing, we help you do a consolidation. And when I'm saying liquidation is more about life cycle management. Try to ensure that basis the life cycle decisions, we give you that flexibility to take a decision. Now for allocation, I want to give you some example. Can you switch the screen? So we were working, like I said, we work for a Australian fashion retailer. So we even introduced, similar product allocation using 3 years of their historical data and their image recognition. So if you are going to allocate a particular product, the moment the product has reached the warehouse, you can check, let's say this is the particular product, this is the design, okay. Now basis that, it will have certain attributes, more attributes better for the tool. Onebeat automatically recommends from that particular image that in the new products that have come in, what should go to a store, and basis the historical sales of that particular product, what should be the first allocation quantity. Now why is Onebeat able to predict for them is because they do replenishment through Onebeat, and it is all no human intervention. Output आया directly store transfer order बन गया, execute भी हो गया. There's nobody. The only place they can do a allocation change is they'll get this output and they'll decide probably कि Onebeat ने इतना दिया, I think इतना भी चल जाएगा या इसको थोड़ा और बढ़ा देते. For whatsoever reason, because we do not have insights to what marketing can be happening in the store, how other things. So can you go a little down? So you will get the percentage similarity as well. How much percentage it is similar. Now for this environment that I'm showing, still the attributes are very, very less. Because they did not know whether how effective this logic would be. But last week we got an email that they are extremely happy with even the limited set of attributes that they have, and they are going to go dive deeper and give more. Because we had examples where एक short dress था, but attribute नहीं mentioned था that it is a short dress. Onebeat recommended it because बाकी सारी चीजें match हो रही थी. But then you know कि short dress and long dress का performance usually उतना match नहीं करता. So that's when they realized that we need to fine tune our attributes management system as well. So these are the things that we are talking about. Now when we are trying to use technology to do this, what are we trying to do? We are trying to use the intelligence that has already existed in the ecosystem, okay, and then whatever has come to my warehouse, usko main aur kaise distribute karu. Because no matter what you have planned, at the end of it, it is all about कि जो मैंने खरीदा उसका कितना percentage मैं बेच सकता हूँ in the maximum price. Because if it has not sold, then I can take some action to it. So here we go back to the presentation. So what we are talking about when I'm talking about allocation, we are talking about allocation to that extent. We are trying to allocate it much more smart way. Now once it is allocated, the replenishment algorithm will start taking care of the demand. If a product is really good, it will increase the availability. If the product is not performing, it will choke it. If it is an average product, again it takes your entire supply chain into perspective. How many times you replenish? If you're not regular at replenishment, it will take care of those algorithms as well, and so on. Then there are recommended store transfers. Now, when I'm talking about store transfers, we are going to a level of first distributing it in cluster. You have to tell that you decide when it is profitable for you. Like for example, if you tell me कि Chinmay store to store कितना profitable होगा जब 50,000 का bill बना, नहीं तो don't do a store transfer. Tool will take care of it. It will only give you a recommendation if that is the output that can be derived. Or consolidation. You have broken sizes everywhere. Then it can take those decisions of that we are not looking at profitability, but we are looking at consolidation so that आगे जाके this design has a higher chance of selling. The liquidation is nothing but a life cycle management that you have given 30 days for a product here, it's not working, इसको इधर choke करो, इसको इधर से move करो. It's a decision that you are taking basis performance. We call it liquidation, but it is basically life cycle management where you can think about any rule that you want in the ecosystem. Like the product is in a very good zone, like region wise, but in that region this product is not doing well, the rate of sale is not as per the numbers. You take a decision, choke the product, replace it with something else and bring the product either back to the warehouse or take any action possible. At the moment we do not do pricing recommendations, but definitely the kind of data we are accumulating in these processes, we'll get there within a year's time. And on top of it, there are events and promotions that we manage. We have a complete AI module where you can upload all the last 3 years of data with the lunar calendars, and we'll tell you what categories can do well with respect to what are the. I'm talking about category level data, category attribute level data, because products might change for most of you. So we can even give you, viewpoints there as well, perspective on how we can help better. Now, of all the people, customers that we have, a lot of our clients have customized us as well. We have an on-prem solution as well, which might not do a lot of things on AI, but we can customize to their requirement. Like I mentioned, there is Max. There are certain players who does planning as well with us, where we have a unique way to do planning with respect to their, it's a customized solution for every environment, where we give them feedback as to what should be the buy or what should be the category split that you can aim for. So that's something that we do up and above all these aspects as well. And moving to the last slide, just some numbers. The large value retailer is Max. We saw sales growth. This is the numbers that we are seeing. It was in the first year of pilot. In the jewelry environment, we saw sales growth of 12%. With Max, it was almost 6.6%, wherein we had committed them 5%. It was a consulting solution, but in reality, it came to be 6.6. Turns improvement for Max, it improved at a store level. It improved from 8x to 11x, and overall at a warehouse level it increased from 4.6x to 5.1. For jewelry, Thangamail, there was the bad stock reduction like I mentioned. This data is a period of 1 year, 6 months. So 18 months we had this much of reduction. And alignment to norm. This is where, like I said, effectivity and efficiency meet. They were 90% compliant to whatever decisions Onebeat had recommended. These are usually industry standards that we talk about because TOC works on an ROI model. So we always focus on ensuring that in any environment that we enter, we try to see if we can contribute more to your sale, if we can contribute more to your reduction, and that is where I was talking about growth and stability both. We want to help you grow, but at the same time be as stable as possible. We want you to leverage us as a lever to achieve whatever you want to achieve. But like I said, it all depends on what is your goal. Whatever is your goal, basis that the entire tool will be configured and delivered. And that's basically what Onebeat brings to the table, and that's how using, like I said, only the execution part, what is the value we can add to any environment. Obviously we can, if you want to know more about for your particular environments, we can sit across and discuss in much more detail, but this is in generic as to what value we have added across our brands.
So I have a question here. So based on my experience, I guess from allocations, till increasing the sales I guess it's a fairly easy game. But when it comes to brand, the first problem whenever someone reaches out to, let's say, for some manifest or let's say Onebeat, the first problem we face is with the product taxonomy. Product hierarchy and the taxonomy. Yes. Let's say you have mentioned of colors, right?
Yeah.
No, I have few items which is actually listed as fuchsia, red, and so on. So there is no such proper color family wherein at least I can have a fixed attribute or let's say a validated attribute, so that the system can predict well and then it can be an actionable thing. So I just wanted to understand your experience with it. So when you say 70 brands you are already working with, what is the major challenge, let's say, be it on the conversion side? Because even I could not onboard just because I had this issue on the product taxonomy, and I thought this is the first step, to fix, and then only we can actually explore all these things.
So I'll not take a name, but I'll tell a retailer, very popular retailer, older than all of you here in India, had blue color written in 6 different versions: BLUE, BLEU, BLUEE, and so on and so forth. So it's a very common data integrity challenges. Okay. What we try to do is, when we know कि ये मेरा compromised है, for the first 3 months, we do not look at that to begin with. We try to go a level up. कि assortment category पे पहले काम करते हैं, उधर पहले इसको clean करते हैं, and by that time ये cleaning parallel चलता है. So that particular brand is now 1 year into the ecosystem, and अब उनका data पूरा clean हो चुका है. So it is an exercise. See, like I said, I'll tell you the challenge when it comes to tech implementation. When you're looking at a tech first implementation, everybody wants to see immediate results and change, which will never happen. You are talking about inventory optimization. 6 महीना आपको लगेगा. You have to be committed to it, and it's not a commitment कि हमने ऊपर की leadership से बोल दिया कि ये करना है, नीचे नहीं हुआ. It has to flow. जहाँ पे flow हुआ है, value आया. जहाँ पे flow नहीं हुआ है, value नहीं आया. I'll be very honest with you. Okay, so that flow comes from the top. Now, if there is a decision that you have taken to, optimize your entire inventory, okay, then that's a price you need to pay to in order. Like I said, अभी मैंने आपको ये जो image वाला बताया, this is this runs in Australia, Canada, Singapore. 3 अलग, they have more than 250, stores there. उधर भी ये challenge है. So that challenge is universal, but they said that we'll ignore that part now. हम start करते हैं. Now उनके पास तो they have a team of allocators as well. ये output वो देखते हैं, then they do manually वो change करते हैं. Onebeat recommends it, they manually change the numbers and they push it forward. Onebeat gives them 3 to 4 recommendations. वो उसमें से वो select करते हैं and they take a call. But I'm saying कि at least you began somewhere, right? तो जो आपका improvement it might not be 10-15% जैसे आप सोच रहे हो, but 5% तो होगा. Something is better than that. So वो gamble लेने के लिए you will have to commit yourself.
If you do not commit to that gamble, then looking at the whole perspective becomes very difficult. Second, when we started working with W. Aurelia way back, तब भी बहुत सारे challenges थे. They had their own unique environments. Okay, because they were opening stores left, right, center. They went as high as to 2000. Today they have come down to almost around 1200 stores. But उस phase में they had a similar, because हर रोज नए designs आ रहे हैं almost. Allocate कैसे होगा, floral. So they also did not have a proper interface. Then they decided कि we'll call them floral. Anything floral is floral. Anything geometric is geometric. They cut it down. They impose the master onto Onebeat and then वो run. So all those decision makings can be done even if your data is not right when you start. But if you start, then you get more visibility of it. That how do, like say today you are thinking about this as an assortment. I will give you an example on assortment, how we look at assortments. Like I said, जब मैंने men's shirts का example दिया, I said, gender, sleeves, attribute और solid print जो भी. इसमें price band भी एक attribute डालना है. ये शायद initially it might not bother, but 3 महीने में आपने देख लिया कि ये तो हो रहा है, but जो मेरा सेल का डेटा है वो बता रहा है प्राइस बैंड फोकस ज्यादा है, तो मैं ये प्राइस बैंड पे जब करता हूँ तो मैं कम इन्वेंट्री रखूंगा स्टोर में, बट उतना ही बेचूंगा, बिकॉज द कैचमेंट वेयर माय स्टोर इज, ये वाला पब्लिक ज्यादा आता है. तो यू कैन ऑलवेज चेंज द, लाइक आई सेड, आपका फोकस क्या है, बेसिस योर फोकस द एंटायर टूल कैन बी अलाइन्ड. Forever New was one of the brands who said, they were the first brand, we are the masters of pull allocation, pull replenishment. They said हमको push ही करना है. We developed something for them कि उनके लिए वो unique है for them. That's why we do a coverage based allocation also for them कि आपको cover ज़्यादा रखना, उस हिसाब से करो. Although despite that वो लोग interstore transfer करके बहुत value generate कर रहे, they come back to us say कि नहीं, your logic is much more precise, but वो उनका need था, we complied to that need. Now that's a decision that we have to sit in front of the table and say, this is what I need. How do we merge what you have versus what I need and get there? But if you sit and feel कि you upload all the data to any tool on day one and you get all, वो नहीं हो.
Because I think I have also checked with a few of the colleagues, because that's the first step. And then everyone faces a problem. And then it takes time.
No, like I said, you have to see कि एक level ऊपर से start करो, then rectify. I'm working with a watch retailer out of Delhi, based out of Gurgaon. They had the same. जब हम sales discussion कर रहे थे, they wanted everything. But जब हम data पे गए, तो पता चला बहुत सारे लोगों का strap नहीं है, dial color नहीं है, ये नहीं, and they wanted me to take decisions. How will I take decisions without knowing all these things? So all those aspects are.
Couple of questions now. Hi, my name is Abhishek. I'm from Blackberrys. I head supply chain and merchandising. So one is attributes when it comes to apparels, and definitely there are different level of complexity. To begin with, what you raised about color, it's just not about nomenclature of the color.
Correct.
Or a blue can be 7 different variants of blue. And a designer who's putting it in, I don't know what mood and what eye reflexes that the person is in that point in time, but it varies. Then a family of blue maybe something that you. So coming back, original question on the right logic. So in my experience, that is not only one attribute which drives your decision making. In our world, is a combination of attributes, and to what you mentioned about price point.
Correct.
So to me, a fit, a color, a pattern, and a price point, all 4, maybe couple more, but at least these 4 put together in a door.
Correct.
Like to a door in Chennai, it is a different check or a louder color or a relaxed fit of a shirt, and price point to the range of 232 to 27 sells well. So that's a kind of input will make more relevance to the game.
Absolutely.
Now the bigger confusion when it comes to system that comes in is the 3 different outfill of the game is about. One is an MDQ. You have created a scroll of say 1200 square feet. The minimum display quantity that you have created across category. How do you take care of that? Then second is the norm of the store also, like that's been defined, created say by the sales and the front end team. So they have certain targets to take care of.
You can have.
And then the third attribute, that is the past data. One, I can display 100 shirts. The second is I have to sell X and fill the norms in the pivotal and the size set. The third is my sale, what it says. how does this tool makes a combination of these three? Because then the confusion starts kicking in, and now to what you mentioned about 90%, there the intervention of people gets in, then they make that 90 to 50 and then start putting manual inputs. Then while having the tool in place, still you really dilute the entire purpose of getting it in.
Correct.
And just as a disclaimer, we are already using Incref. I'm not too sure how Onebeat is comparable to Incref as an ARS. Maybe you can explain a couple of lines. But this is the problem that I'm talking about, what we are living today as a issue.
So firstly, Onebeat mein you can set your OTB norms at store category level. The tool will maintain it. You can go to for each store, you can define that for this, you can have category targets, you can have SKU targets as well. You can have space target as well, and you can have assortment targets as well. Basis whatever you have to look at it. There was even a brand that we worked where they had price targets, because they had a lot of franchisee stores. For them, 50 lakhs se zyada merchandise hona nahi chahiye in a particular store. So we have configured the system to any of these three numbers. Now the first feedback that we usually give is, we show them that okay, we begin with your MDQ, okay, but within a quarter, let's say we realize ki jitna aap stock de rahe ho against whatever is selling, you can actually cut down, let's say 5%, 10% stock without impacting sale. There's a proper logic to it. So what we do is, let's say we have an assortment target that we began with. We review that assortment target's performance globally and then regionally. If that assortment is doing better than what is there in the entire region, then you have a chance to increase that assortment. But if that assortment is doing poorer than what is there in the region, you have a clear-cut goal to reduce that assortment. Now when you reduce, you might have some other assortment that is doing good in that store. Okay, and that you can automatically increase, decrease and play with the numbers. So usually most brands end up cutting down some inventory. Okay, we can decide on a number 5%, 6%, 7%, but usually in our experience 8 से 10% सबका कम होता ही होता है. If you start aligning to the norms, until and unless you have like a marketed collection that you're pushing, like what Shifali just gave example of a kurta or a jacket, these are all marketed collections that you want to superimpose on your existing store. Yeah. So you can manage these aspects and push the out.
I would just like to add something here what he said, because we also faced similar challenges. I'll not name the software. We also had got it implemented. The biggest challenge, there were two challenges which we faced, and they were the biggest one. One, the attributes. There was a limitation at that point of time with the software to take the attributes. And from a product viewpoint, I think not size, sleeve. For me, sleeve is also important, okay, because it differs, the requirement differs from region to region, right? And we are doing classic fits also, we are doing regular fits also, even within that, the sleeve requirement changes with the customers. So somehow I think the software was not able to handle the attributes and give towards the analysis or help us in in planning the future one. Second, the leftover inventory in the stores. Though it I'm sure the biggest part that the software any software claims is to handle the leftover inventories like consolidation or anything. Somehow when we used to put a cut of, let's say, when the 3 sizes or 4 sizes are left in a particular store, below 4, I mean, there should be a consolidation. It didn't happen. We faced a bigger challenge, and that was the time when we finally decided that, of course, every brand has a different requirement. Being a premium brand, we realized that an emotional touch and a human touch is extremely important. Just dependency on the software which was not able to handle our attributes and the leftover inventory in the stores, we had to unfortunately give it up. So I think these are the parameters which are extremely important when we talk about product, how to handle, how to do the analysis, because data alone will not help. It's like how do we use the data, how we are able to use the data. That's very important.
Absolutely. So to address that, we don't have any attribute limitations in our tool, we never have. But when we decide assortments, we decide using some analysis, we try to define what are the top 3 to 4 attributes that you need to focus on. Why? Because too much of anything is poison. Even if I have too many attributes, it will create chaos, and if I have very little attributes, it will create chaos. So we have that proper mix that comes from that experience. Second, consolidation is one of the, like I gave you examples of interstore transfers that happened. It cannot happen without consolidation. So again, there as well we ask the brand to choose. If I am going to choose profitability, I might have to sacrifice consolidation some places, because there will be certain places where there are 4 sizes available, but the sell-through of that particular style is extremely high. I would not want to pull it. So these are decisions, configurable decisions that we take with the team, with brand to brand. So with respect to that, we play. Second, like I said, we have the capability to put a volume to the store transfer decision as well that you're taking. That you will only do a transfer if this is the value of profit that I'll make. We go even a step further for a footwear retailer, where we tell that you tell me how many pieces should be transferred. We even can put a number to that so that the MDQ doesn't, is not disturbed. Because if I'm putting a value, it's a low performing store. So वहाँ से ज़्यादा merchandise जा सकता है. But I can say that at any given point of time, not more than 50.
Ideally, IST of course is a definitely good lever to enhance your sell-throughs, but over leveraging, that is also not a good scenario in this system. There's something fundamentally wrong in terms of allocation.
I agree.
Right? Because that is only primarily 2 to 3% of the exception that you have to deal with.
I agree.
I mean, of course, that's the way. Because ideally, the concept of allocation eventually starts from range architecture.
I agree.
The attributes that you're talking about, while creating a range, if that is not been kept in mind by the designers and the category or the product team, system will only do this much. Eventually, that is available to them.
So the reason why.
I'm sorry. Sure. Okay. So that's one part. The second is, how does this piece gather knowledge? And data is data, I do agree. But when you're in a multi-channel environment specifically, in the same city, a franchise door having an X MDQ or a norm or a government allocation, because that's a inventory they say they buy, vis-a-vis to a company-owned store or vis-a-vis to a LFR or a multi-business outlet, can have a different result in the same city.
Yes.
And then merchandise, the way they have allocated, they have put in their display, the visuals and the VM that they have done. Does that system also capture this kind of feedback in the game? Forget the VM part of it, but I'm talking about the attribute-based messages.
So I'll tell you a couple of things that we did for a pharma client. Okay, so pharma में बहुत बार ये होता है that you reach to a store for a particular prescription, it is not available at the store. And it's a very common thing that happens because there are X number of drugs you can keep in the store. There are so many drugs available. We created a system where the system would give us an input. So we created a system where their ERP would give us an input that this drug was sold in this region. See if you want to keep a minimum of this drug. So then we gave a input basis the region. Like if the product was asked in a particular region, the 10 stores within that they had classified in the region would automatically introduce the drug with a minimum of 2 strips, 3 strips. So we have done that, number one. Number two, we also did that for pin code basis. So there was a brand who said if is pin code mein online ja raha hai, so I need to ensure the availability in a certain store. Again, that was, see, these are all inputs we get from the ERP. If you can find a way to give these inputs, we can create a lot of decision-making criteria.
The system captures the stock cover cap of every door.
Yes. Second, coming to answering on inter-store transfer. Now, when I'm looking at a classic brand like Blackberry, for example, Lacoste, वहाँ पे store transfers can be once a month because they are standard unique designs, features, categories. But if I'm looking at Latin Quarters, V-Mart, V-Bazaar, Citykart, there are so many designs introduced within a month and so many categories. There for them, creating that space is more important and leveraging that inventory. So there I would rather recommend once in every 15 days to get that agility. There is one agility that is happening by the system. The other agility is forced agility that you're pushing out the merchandise that has not performed to create more space for newness to come.
So basically what I am seeing from last say 1 year, right, after the COVID and all, market has picked up. But what is happening is in-demand season planning. So what you planned when you started the season and what actually is happening. Like what was the scenario in January and what was the scenario in April is totally different. It's like 30 to 35% variations. So there are assortments which are stockouts and there are assortments which are overstocked, right? So even after doing the inter-store transfer, so do you have any solutions like if we do the reordering well before like some 12 weeks or something like
reordering and all, if it is the same SKU, is taken care. That is not a challenge. I'll tell you what we do for ethnic wear brand. Okay, we have defined certain cohorts, like दो category है, defined दो assortment है, but they have certain similar attributes that can be reused or interchanged by each other. So if you have an assortment जिसमें surplus बड़ा है, that is interchangeable, the tool will transfer that additional inventory and get it done. So you get a report on a month-to-month basis that how much surplus you have across categories that is usable, and whatever is usable, Onebeat will throw an output. Basis that it's a highly customized output, like I said, because you have to understand what are those cohorts that you're looking at, because आपने assortment ऐसे define किया है, and then you are merging these two assortments. So it's a report that we generate. Using that, you can take a decision to use the existing inventory. Number one. Number two, reordering of, that's a simple piece the tool can take care of. So because if it is a never out of stock, if it is the same SKU that you have to reorder for with a lead time.
No, this was for the fast fashion, right? This was for the fast fashion. Changes is happening not in a news category. It is happening in fast fashion.
So
category.
in fast fashion, then reordering at what level is what we want to do. We can give you signals that is assortment में आप buying बढ़ा दो. We can give if you are buying monthly. Like we work with a brand that does not manufacture. वो bulk में जो भी market में available हो रहा है वो उठा लेते हैं. तो वहाँ पे it helps. We create a special report for them, which they get every week कि ये assortment जो आपने खरीदा है, basis the sale, you have to increase your buy. It's a report that we generate because giving a decision of, because Onebeat operates at SKU location level combination. तो उस पे I cannot give you directly an answer, but I can definitely give you कि उस assortment का regional performance के हिसाब से क्या gap दिख रहा है, क्या probable है जो बन चुका है.
So basically what you're saying is you will provide me the early indicators.
Yes.
So how soon that can happen and like how confident you are on that? Like confident.
Like I said, we do it for Taswa. हम करते हैं, but they take that report every 15 days. So it's a automated report जहाँ पे every 15 days में you will get from the system. How again, because इसमें what you are asking it is sort of forecasting. कि आप predict कर दो, आप बता दो कि इस assortment में मेरा overall buy कितना कम है, तो we never go, and Onebeat का decision making is at SKU location level, like I said. So SKU location level से at attribute assortment level पे I cannot predict a complete gap, so I give you an estimate of it. So I can share with you an estimated report कि वहाँ पे कैसे जाता है. This is that you can take a look.
Sure.
I think what he's saying, like IST is not a very good idea. What a data is, I can say the truth is there with all the retailers, like 10% the global, 37% the fashion. It is there with us. But problem is that we are in the value, okay, and beyond 5%, it's not a good idea to do the IST. It's like doing things rightly or making things right.
I completely agree.
Very difficult.
So that's what I said कि basis the volume आप decide कर सकते हो कि कितना करना है. Like I said, if at all you feel कि अभी value में, like I said, you can create an MRP barrier. That any product that is less than 500, 600 क्यों करना है इसलिए? उससे अच्छा मैं discount पे इधर ही बेच दूँगा. But if there is some good margin, 1000 का product है, 800 का product है, so for in your environment that's a good value product. So वहाँ पे how can I squeeze that excess sell through? See, goal क्या है? आप push कर रहे हो, okay? Push की वजह से क्या होता है? Naturally आपके पूरे ecosystem में shortage और surplus बढ़ जाता है. How to rebalance it to bring it to a balance? That's the end goal. That's what I'm trying to do. वो numbers, वो focus, वो कितना volume, that is configured. It is within your decision making. Like I said, we never push for inter-store transfers, but for smaller brands who have 50, 60, 70, even 100 stores, they do and they get good value. So it is up to आपको किस स्केल पे खेलना है. अगर आपके लिए like I said value में है 600, 700 का प्रोडक्ट में सोचूंगा मैं नहीं इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रांसफर के लिए. But if it is more than that, why not? Why not to give it a try? Because अगर मेरा like you know you said sell through में और 5% squeeze कर सकता हूँ तो क्यों नहीं? So that's
Sunil, Max is using what? Planning and allocation tool both? Both.
Max
How-
Easy Buy.
How long you are with them? Like
I think 2018, 19, say
7 years.
So can I define a cap of a rate of sale or a sell-through, like a fresh sell-through as in the sell-through within the season itself? Suppose I want to achieve a 70% fresh sell-through and a shelf life of maybe 100 days, fresh 100 days, considering that 4.5 to 1.5 months of years or so. Is there a possibility to define if my rate of or a weekly rate of sale goes
weekly
below
rate
an
of
X
sale,
percentage, say
yes,
6% if I don't achieve?
Yes.
And then I do monitor consecutively 4
Yes.
weeks and then I move out.
Yes, you can do. You can monitor days. Rate of sale तो automatically tool calculate करता है. You can.
But it may vary because it may have the cohorts of the doors.
Yes.
Some doors can be A+, some doors can be C doors
Yes.
across tier 3 towns.
Yes, you can configure. We call it dynamic product lifecycle
Correct.
management.
So that demand forecasting is thoroughly enabled in this game, is it?
So
what he was also asking.
demand
earlier.
forecasting.
I don't think it's forecasting.
Exactly.
No, it's not. I
No.
think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think forecasting is something that they are working on, but predominantly you send the goods.
Mhm.
It will give you data based on how efficiently those goods are selling. I think his point, and I think whenever we've had multiple conversations with him for this lovely product. But for us, we always say our first challenge is, what do I send in the store?
Oh,
You know,
that's
do I
what
send? And out of all the options that we have done, we have till now, for us, the most efficient has been to take all our dump, put it in Power BI, take it down to store level, figure out that a store has this. We have 16, 17 attributes for each product, right? So, and take a human calculated plan based on that. I think the efficiency for Onebeat comes is once the product reaches the store, then it will be very efficient.
So to answer that question, I can tell you what you need to send to the store for the season at a store level, at an assortment level. That is the planning part.
Right.
That we can do. What we do not do is the quantity. That
So
what should be the.
So for example, if I know that
But
my
the depth,
store
Ha,
has a
the
base
depth.
of, for my store has a base of 1,000 pieces, right? And now our biggest challenge is, in those 1,000 pieces, what is the correct distribution for categories, subcategories, sleeves?
Yes.
I think if we get that right,
Yes.
then everything else will be more efficient.
So that is the
Our-
bottom of it.
Right, and that is where we struggle the most as a company. We have to allocate, or we have to plan for 350 plus stores. Where we struggle the most is, and honestly, we are not able to do that. We try to do that and we get lazy. We say, okay, forget store wise, let's do city wise, and then it moves up to state wise, and then it goes up to region wise. So, where
That I can run you down through
Right.
a module that we have built. Where
right,
you
the
can
one you said that
bottom
you've
up-
been. So, I
So
think-
वो bottom up approach करके I can give you that this store, this assortment, these many options are given. Now to calculate the depth,
right.
that is pure play forecasting. Where to tell you a number, I can tell you how many options you can introduce. What is the attribute.
that's the right balance between width and depth eventually. I mean,
So-
so my competition keeping 200 option of shirts like what Louis Philippe does in the store, or what if I in the same vicinity I keep 80 to 90 options, what is the right number for me? Is 150 the right number? 200 is the right number?
I can give you that number.
Or shall I just keep playing on that 90 but see my 30-40 bestsellers and increase the depth, which enhances my sell-through chances, you know?
So, like I said, we can give you a feedback on that. We can tell you how many are what is your average number of options you should begin with in a store. किस में बढ़ाना है, किस में कम करना है. If you are introducing 15 options, किस में 5 से ज़्यादा होना नहीं चाहिए, किस में 10 आप कर सकते हो. All those aspects we can give. What we do not give, because it comes as pure play forecasting, we do it for some customized smaller vendors, none of the bigger vendors, is the number की what should be the buy, कि कितना pieces खरीदना. That is something that we allow the team to do.
But if we give you a number, then that can be.
Like I said, let me show you what we have done for a client, and this is that you take a call on it. Because it's a grey line between pure play forecasting and this. Like I said, our strength is more of execution. Once whatever you buy, how to put it, distribute across stores, how to ensure that you get a excellent sell through whatever you have done. Because that's real data, playing with the real data that we excel at. We give every season we give outputs that this should be your buy for the next 6 seasons. This should be your allocation. This should be your assortment. If you had introduced like Abhishek said 90 shirts, I would say 45 से start करो. Then see कि कितना बढ़ाना है, क्या करना है. So we have a proper science that can give you that number.
And how long does the system need in terms of number of months to come up with a pattern for that?
Like I said, every quarter, within a quarter we give you.
So within the first 3 months of sales
Yes,
data,
yes.
and what if I say, okay, I put all my last 20 years sales data and just do it
it
based on
is,
that?
see again, Onebeat runs on everyday data. You will give me 20 years of sales data.
Right.
You don't give me 20 years of inventory in store. Onebeat runs on rate of sale is calculated कि कितना दिन product store में था versus available.
No, that I agree to his point. If we give you say 6 seasons data at a door level, I give you 10 door pilot. This is what we made, this is what we allocated, and this is what the actual sales and rate of sale is. At least system should throw me something like a mirror on my face by saying this went really well and this is something you could have done better.
I agree, but like I said, it is still at the end of the day an estimate. That's why we say कि
Even what we do is also an estimate.
हाँ, तो एक estimate से start करके within the quarter we'll give you feedback of that assortment because I now have everyday inventory data. I know कि आप हर रोज कितना उस assortment category में stock hold करते हो, आपका कितना sell है, what should be the average, regional average क्या है, global average क्या है, basis that you can decide.
Actually, a practical question. How much a team or a function or an organization can wait to keep a belief in that data, as you rightly said, say maybe starting 3 months, but eventually 6, 7, 8 months down the line, if the result doesn't come, then it starts getting questionable. That's what the ecosystem we live in,
I
right?
agree. So that's why we.
And how do we make people trust then in that game? Then they'll say, "Ki sir, I'm sorry, speaking in Hindi, but मेरा manual allocation in Excel was better."
I agree. So that's why
I was applying, but that's a very practical scenario.
So that's why in the sales process we have a process called as value discovery, where we already take your data and we give you a respective output which will allow your management to consider कि आज आपका replenishment कैसे हो रहा है. अगर Onebeat आपके ecosystem में होगा तो आपको value क्या मिलेगा. आज आपका allocation कैसा है, क्या benefit हो सकता है. We do this as a part of sales process. Second, we also do your complete business as is understanding. That how do you take decisions? How do you look at your slow movers? How do you take decisions for switching inventory? How do you take decisions for replenishment? How frequently you do everything, each and every data, and then we come with a consolidated plan. This is what we'll do. Usme if you want to do a pilot, we can talk about it. Or else it is usually we engage on 1-year contracts because that's where we saw that there is more agility at both the ends. But within the first 3 to 4 months, you will see value. You will see cash on the table. Like I said, if there is surplus stock lying around, we predict, we show you what is the value of interstore transfer. We help you execute it, make it chewable. And if value aa gaya, the management starts believing in whatever value has been added, and that's how we execute. So we look at short wins, and then we do not want to come and say, "हम कभी नहीं बोलते मैं आऊँगा सब बदल जाएगा." नहीं होता. It happens step by step. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Got into a lot of questions.
We can connect. Yeah, we can connect one-on-one on second.
Sure. I think Lalit ji, I think so. He knows Rohi very well. Rohi is my boss. So he said कि next time Rohi जब भी आएंगे please मेरे को बोला I want to meet him. I think they last time met in 2016 or 17.
Alright, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think वो हाँ Kapil. So I think they have made some mementos. क्या कर? Okay. Abhishek Sharma.
Yeah. Excuse me.
The one with the most questions gets it.
Wow, it's good.
Thank you.
आप सब लेके आए Arun Kumar. Thank you. Ritesh. Thank you. Can we have a group?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.